Pretty amazing for that little event, right? Yeah. Right. And really, the event was worked out, not great money, but you don't know what's right. You can deposit.
All right.
Somebody was saying something, he was there. What I want to talk about in this email we came to already lost.
For the group party. And, I don't know anything.
All right, John.
I think it's and I hear he didn't know that. Yeah. Like, wow. Sure, because you guys come for sure. We invited.
Well, I got some information, so I might have to.
You going to Don Ivory? I'm not dying. You going to Chris? We're first. So we. I got one or you want to put him out of town? I know you don't have a beach. If you're looking at I don't know, I have a wireless, so I would walk around. I still have a role. It still matters. I'm still relevant.
jury rig something together first, and if we think that's a good way to go, we can buy a permanent. I bought one.
What time you have? Nobody get in trouble.
Okay, that's it.
And then.
Are you gonna do the high school?
Hey, oh, I know. Okay, perfect. Okay, we're late.
8:05.
It's 7:32. Okay, let's call it to order. Let's go, let's roll. Gary?
Yes.
Can you do our, pledge of allegiance, please?
Let's see. Pledge allegiance to the
Flag. Where is it?
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and our four-way test?
Is this the truth? Fair all observed, will build goodwill and better friendships, will be beneficial to all concerned.
And? Make it. Okay, Ms. Lovering?
Yes.
Do we have a Friday celebration?
Oh, I do, yes, I do. This is from E.E. Cummings. To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best night and day to make you everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight and never stop fighting.
Very nice. Thank you. Edith?
Okay, so do we have any guests?
Yes, we do have a guest. This is my mom, Judy. She's
Hello?
I was asking her, when do I get a badge, because
Hi, Judy.
I'm popping it up.
Yeah. Gary, get her an app.
I can do that.
We'll get you a badge.
We'll get you a stinking badge.
I think her, occupation should be Rotary Mom.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Sounds good.
Okay, who do we have? So Rotary birthdays, anniversaries, we've got, what is the date today? 16. So no birthdays until next week. Anniversaries, Chris and Rachel on the 7th. Nobody coming up
Congratulations.
till later this month. Rotary anniversaries, Chris Jacobson, 2 years. Nice job. Okay, and then, Kevin O'Brien, 6 years. Wow, 6 years? Where does the time go? Okay, then we've got announcements. Does anyone have an announcement? No, okay, we'll go right into reports. President report, that's me, thank you, good morning. I don't have a lot to announce because we're still getting things rolling. We have some great things planned for this year, more fun, less homework. Okay, so we'll go right in. So past president.
I'm right here.
Ken.
I don't have
And you're
anything to
thankful.
report, Madam.
Okay, thank you. Treasurer report, Lori.
Yeah, so, I've been getting caught up and finding out where everything is. I thought I would let you know, give everybody sort of a snapshot of what our finances are like. So, we've got two organizations. We have the club, and then we have the club foundation. And so, that Chris is always giving you what the numbers are, but I thought I'd also tell you that we have investments. We have, in the club, we have a Vanguard account, which is worth about $17,000, so that's been growing nicely. And then in the foundation, we have the endowment, the Lauren and Lorna Hull endowment, which is now up to $75,000.
Wow.
So, yeah. But we also have an Ameritrade account, and it has grown quite a bit, and it's up to $39,000. Oh my God. So both of those investments have almost doubled from what we paid into them. So good job, everybody, and money worth spending. So, and I guess that's the other thing. I spent $22,000 this week, and it was for the club, and that was for scholarship. So good job, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, Gary, secretary's report.
All right, the next board meeting is on Thursday, August the 12th, not the 10th, as I reported last week, as somebody reminded me. I wonder who that was. Just a reminder about the district and the leadership. As of July 1, we have a new district governor, Beverly Harrington. We have a district governor-elect. I really messed this name up. Greg, do you know it?
No.
Okay. Rajah Cole, I believe. Then we have a district governor nominee, David Lucas. Past president, our past district governor was Carol Tickleman. Finance chair is Linda Rhodes. Foundation chair remains Malcolm Kennedy. Vice chair is Brad Whitaker. Communications chair is Dave Duskin. And membership is Dennis Boyd. And our Area J assistant district governor is Wayne Lewis. That's it.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, president-elect.
So what I'd like to say is, we are fundraising, so everybody who needs to help out to make us successful, so we have all the sponsorship forms out there. Let's go out and try and drop a couple of these off and talk to our folks that have some cash that would love to help out the community. And I think Jim's renting the tickets this week, is that right, Jim?
It's in the works.
Okay, good, that's all I have.
How much in sponsorships have we collected?
We got some announcements to make. I think we're ready to make that. Tracy, got some great news?
We have a Valhalla sponsor, the
Ooh.
$5,000 sponsor.
Never had one.
We've never had one. Dr. Jay Hong has been a supporter many, many years. He would give iPads, he's a personal friend of mine, but I also refer a lot to him. But I didn't even have to suggest it. He's like, well, is the top one taken? I'm like, well, no. So he's gonna do the Valhalla sponsor, $5,000.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So, when we first,
guy a toothbrush.
yeah.
Rotary toothbrush.
Maybe some flop.
When we first started this whole thing, we came up with this budget, we needed to really expand it for, everything we want to do. So we threw out $20,000 as a goal for our sponsorships this year. And, that's like 3,000 more than combined that we've done before in the past. And I just got a check here from Don and Eve, and right now we're at $21,100. Unbelievable! That's crazy. That's great. Great stuff.
Hey, Jim, I got your check up, nothing on the counter.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. So we got a lot of great people.
A lot of great people, that's awesome.
And go from there.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Health services, anything?
Good.
Good. Community services. Brian's not here. So Brian's not here today. He'll be back next week. Foundation.
Great.
Awesome. Awesome. International services.
Yes. Thanks to Gary, he sent out an email from Rotary, not International, but from District 5050. There was a major wildfire that leveled the village of Lighton, BC. I heard that Gary has some pictures of it. It's pretty amazing devastation that happened. Imagine, running and having your house just disappear, having your business disappear. They are asking for donations, so District 5050, 5060, and 5040, I believe, we're all trying to, can we give to help? So any little bit helps. I would suggest from International, anybody who wants to be on that committee, please feel free, but I would say let's spend some money from our international budget. I would suggest $500. I don't even know how much my budget is this year.
I think it was 2,000.
2,000? Okay, so.
That's the treasurer.
But it doesn't have it in front of her.
It doesn't have it in front of it.
Well, I'll get that information, but I think we can put $500 towards, and they're looking to buy, what were they gonna buy? Gift cards, if we need to pay somebody's hotel, whatever they need. If you lose everything, you need everything. So, please double check Gary's email. There's information on how to get the money there. So definitely worthwhile. On the International Project Alliance side, they did just make a trip down to in June. They are really pushing the Adopt a Student, Adopt a Dream program. So, investing in a child can get their world opened up to them. So thank you to everybody who has adopted, and please keep it up.
I'll say it's kind of fun too. We got a message back from our students, and it's fun, kind of getting to know, a kid in another country with a different family and finding out about her family and all that kind of stuff. It's so easy.
Yeah, and some of the kids some of them have iPhones and they are able to connect via WhatsApp. Mm-hmm. And that's free for them. So there's one of the international members he has developed relationships, and he's like the father figure for several of these young girls. And he said every so often he'll get this question that he answered for his own daughters from these girls. So that just gave me shivers, okay? Maybe it's cold in here.
And how much is it to sponsor every year? It's a 3-year commitment, but it's very affordable.
$180 for a grade school, $280 for a high schooler times 3 years. And then we would love you to keep going. So.
Mm-hmm.
you know, Tracy, it's such a small amount,
Yeah,
and the dollar goes so far.
so far,
You're helping somebody get an education that is
Yeah.
so needed, so.
yeah,
I appreciate you doing that. It's been fun sponsoring our kids.
cool, awesome. All right, thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, membership.
Yeah, nothing really, new. Got a couple things, there's a couple prospective members we're gonna work on, Gary, I think, got some tips, we'll work on that. And then Tuesday night at 5:30, at our club away from this club, the brewery, we're gonna have a hybrid meeting. Gary will set out a announcement on that.
And it's something that we need to get going because we have, Kyle and Connor, that, once school starts, they're gonna be committed, and Kristen kind of gets by because she does interact, and that's, makeup, in my terms, is, every time she has that, so she's had, pretty good attendance because of that. But, and there may be more. I don't know if, Ken, if you've had any more discussion with Allison, Ashley from, Stoneish.
From Glacier Peak High School, no, but I owe her a phone call, so let me try to do that this week, or next week.
And Ron, I was talking to Stacia Clark, who, prior member, she's working on a husband-wife team who they met through Interact,
Okay.
and they're really huge Rotarians, and she's been pushing our club.
Okay.
Oh, you've got to go, they're so fun, and they're involved and exciting, and she goes, oh, that's what we want. So,
Perfect.
and then at the farmer's market, there's a gal who I talked with, because I was, okay, I'm skeptical that farmer's market, what are we doing there, this is boring. We had, so she was like, oh, I've been looking, I want to come into a meeting, and she's just got to figure out childcare. I'm like, sweet, okay, just have to talk to people.
Perfect.
And she can join us online.
Exactly.
And I still think we need to sign up to be at the farmer's market for.
Yeah.
To get their email
Yeah.
information, yeah,
It would have been handy, but, sir.
yeah.
Okay. All right, so now vocational services. Lance, here? Nope. Interact.
So I went to Ashley Point on, Tuesday to talk to Natalie, the new activities director. We are planning for Interact, one Thursday a month to go and spend time there, so I'm really excited about that. I'm unfortunately not able to do it, but if anybody wants to go and help out on next Friday, from about 10 o'clock to 4 p.m., they're doing a spa day there, so they need people to like help paint fingernails or, sample chocolate. There's aromatherapy, there's yoga, there's all sorts of fun things. I'm excited, with that relationship.
Awesome, thank you. Chris, you have anything on Scouts?
Scouts, they seem to be doing pretty good, they're getting geared up for summer camp and things of that sort. And, so the girls' troop has probably tripled in size, they're up to almost 16 or so, and they started with 4 or 5, so they've been blowing up, so that's been really good. Pretty fun, you know, everybody goes through leadership changes as we do and things like that, so they're in a flux of that all the time, so it seems to be going pretty good. And then they did ask for and I think there's money in the budget for that, for I think $195 for some leadership training, so I think that'll be a go. So, yeah, no, they're doing great. So, hope they have them here sometime after summer camp maybe, and they can kind of do the presentation of what they've been up to, what they've been doing, and things like that, so that'll be exciting.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, Don, programs, anything?
Well, we sign up programs all the time, and a lot of them are programs that come from you guys. And that's great when we have kind of a, I guess you could call it a shoe in the door, you know, with some of these folks. It's very hard to cold call and get much of a response, but I try to do that all the time. But, yeah, we got, the next couple of weeks are covered, and, I just ask that if anybody has any ideas, send them my way, and I'll be glad to follow up on them, and, what more can I say?
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so Dave, our Sergeant of Arms, is on vacation next couple weeks. So we have Larry. Did you run?
The cable guy.
I don't know how to do this.
Should have our guest drop.
He's got a
You're a guest, you said you were a guest.
I am a guest.
Will you pull, one and read the last three numbers?
Okay, Mom, it's the number.
186.
186.
Let me get my.
Nice.
Too bad you were late. and that's
Yeah.
Wait till we get the last, yeah.
So y'all losing a break even.
Winner.
Sometimes they,
You don't get $5.
When?
K.O.B. That's awesome.
How much? 30 bucks. Wow.
Wow.
Don't worry, I get a fine for being early, because it was.
How much was it?
2:30.
2:30.
Kevin, you were last in, you might wanna wait and hear what the fine is for last.
Do you
in.
want to talk about your half?
200 and something.
When for the event,
Oh, what?
when we talk about the event.
Who forgot to wear their pin, their rotary pin today, or use some kind of rotary pin?
Covered.
He's pretty.
Well, you don't
No,
even
no,
have
we
that
can-
on.
How about that? I'll give you.
I don't know when.
So let's do it after this.
Okay.
And we need to talk about this.
Okay. I don't wanna.
You're not. It was like this.
Inlet, I'm late. Inlet, was there a fire?
Yes.
Big fire.
Now it's $2.
Have you been looking for anybody under the freeway?
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who hasn't been under the bus lately? We could throw somebody under the bus.
We usually throw you.
Yeah, yeah, I got the tire marks. I can't think of anything else.
Perfect. Let's go to Happy Bus.
Yeah.
Oh.
Lead off the happy
We haven't finished with Kevin over there.
Okay, I'm in.
Whatever, I did it.
I'll throw in the bus.
Happy Bus.
I've got Happy Bus. So it was just really nice yesterday, it was nice and cool, so I got out and I worked in the garden, you can now see the dirt, not just the weeds. But I also had to pick rhubarb, I am so over rhubarb. So there's a big bag of rhubarb back there, take what you want, please. There'll probably be more next week.
That was the worst sales pitch ever.
What's that?
That was a horrible sales pitch.
But a big bag of rhubarb?
I'm so sick of rhubarb. Take my rhubarb.
Take my rhubarb. So then it'll be zucchini.
David taught me if there's money on the table, you keep standing there until it's all gone.
That's why I don't put mine on the table.
I'm gonna ask my board, being late and being a bad attendee, good to see everybody here today, and looking forward to the evening.
Yeah, I'm looking at your hair.
two things. One, we had a wonderful kickoff of the rustic court for our fundraising, capital campaign for the new food bank building. So that was wonderful, and, I've heard through the grapevine that Kevin is going to be our MC at the MC Bowls. So thank you for that.
Nice, nice.
I'm looking forward to wearing the hard jacket I bought off you a couple years ago, so thank you.
I've got $50. $5 $50. First, my oldest son is a pilot, as you know, got a job with Horizon Airlines, which means my wife can go standby here pretty soon, wherever she wants to go, which I'm sure she will over-exercise, get her money's worth. But, the good news about that is, you know, typically entry level is right to those bombardier plot planes. E-175, yeah. So he's going to Texas for training and doing all that. The second part of my deal is, on the heels of that, we went to South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina for about 5 days, and had a house on Sullivan Island, and it was really fantastic. The only part that was scary was, we got there, right as Tropical Storm Elsa was coming through. So we had water spouts, tornado warnings, all that kind of stuff, the first night we were there, but the rest of the time it was beautiful. Hot and humid, but beautiful.
Money on the table here.
Yeah, I got a couple of bucks. I'm happy to be here again. You guys have got some great programs. Thank you, Don. And I'm also the program chair for the Monroe Club, and most of our programs come from you. At least so far, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
I think there ought to be some money exchanged on that one, Don.
Mine is a happy buck, sad buck. I announced yesterday my retirement.
Oh.
My last day will be August 13th. Of next year.
That's huge.
It's been a 38-year career.
Wow.
And I'll say that Lake Stevens has been the top part of that career.
But you've built locally, so you're staying, right? You're not leaving your dream house, so you're gonna still be in the club.
Well, it's in Skagit County.
It's
Up by
viable.
Bo Edison area.
Oh, yeah.
So are you leaving Rotary too?
I will.
I'm so sad.
Well, that was the sad part of it.
I thought it was that for law enforcement.
Not a successor yet. I'm sure that, Jeff Bezzuto will be interim. I'm glad Marcus is here, because I will say that he's one of the two council members that were present when I got hired, so thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Lived up to bigger standing we ever.
And so I'll be leaning on them to appoint Jeff Bezzuto, but that'll be a city decision.
So if you're leaving us, we need more money.
And I will be bringing Jeff to the next meeting too.
Thank you for your service.
Well, I could say that I'm retired on August 13th, because I looked at my work record for this last year, and I haven't charged a single hour to my company for the entire year. At what point do I say I'm retired? You know, maybe it's at the end of the year if there's 0 hours. Anyhow, I have happy butts because it's just been a crazy month for me. All good things. A huge remodel project in the house, going through the entire house, doing all kinds of stuff. Family from Central Florida living with us for over a week. They just left this week. 3 major parties. You know, when summer comes around here, it's like party time. But anyhow, I feel like it's going to be so nice to just kind of lay back and relax for a month, enjoy the rest of the summer. So definitely happy.
Okay, well, I'm ready for hot weather. I've got an air conditioner. Well, that makes me happy. And it makes Lorna happy.
Yeah. I have a happy dollar that Mom is here visiting. I have a sad dollar because I don't get her for the whole weekend, and I just found that out. Anyway, happy dollar, I celebrated 20 years in dentistry this week, And our event is gonna be spectacular.
So where are you moving from dentistry to?
I'm not retiring, I'm celebrating the
Being
milestone.
optician?
There's an opening
Yeah, yeah. Sign right up.
at the station.
I'm just happy to be here, and I should have retired earlier, but I didn't. And I'm happy, cool weather.
And the political table over here.
Public service announcement, ballots come out today, make sure you vote. 4 years ago, only 22% of the people voted during the primary, so
Oh, wow.
make sure you vote, it's important.
I've got not been here very much, 5, and happy that we're gonna have a fun night tonight, 5. $1 for the chief.
There's African, for the help to the community and, everyone's helped, put the $20,000+ in sponsorships. And then, yeah, looking forward tonight. So if we could maybe meet at Marcus's at 5:30 and try to be at Chris's at 6, so that'd be a start. Does that work?
That works for me.
Absolutely. Is it approved?
Yep.
All right.
All right, so I have a happy dollar for what it sounds like starts at 5:30 tonight, looking forward to that. And another happy dollar to, for those of you who haven't seen on Facebook, I finally got my dry suit, picked it up this week, and pending, water conditions, I'm hoping to dive on Sunday.
All right.
Wow, that's cool.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a happy dollar for the chief. Thank you for your service. Yours has been awesome. I'm so sad to lose you, but you are a good guy.
And I'm gonna chip in because Sam, thank you too. You were on the council as well.
A happy dollar for Tracy Dorm and the plug, if you need a really good dentist. I have no shame, I know that. A happy dollar that it's Friday, and a happy dollar, that, to Jim, I just appreciate you and all that you do for the community.
Yeah, that's true. All right. I'm happy it's Friday and everybody's doing great for our community. That's what we're all here about. Thanks, Chief, for everything you've done. It's going to be a sad day that day and happy day at the same time, so I keep that in mind. So,
Just remember you are retired.
yeah, Friday.
I'm going to Mexico on Sunday. I haven't been on an airplane almost 2 years, so I'm excited about that.
Well, the first happy buck is because there are a lot of things to be happy about. I went to the building, mini fundraiser for Lake Stevens, Food Bank. It was an awesome turnout. 16,000 that night, and growing. And so there's a number of us in here that have, information if you want to, donate. Also, the downtown area is starting to take shape. And right now, I have the most beautiful view walking down Soper Hill Road. I can see the mountains, but there's gonna be buildings there fairly soon.
Across,
The other happy buck is, for the chief. I've been privileged to, serve on a couple of committees at his request for lateral and entry-level, police. I've got to know a couple of, pretty excellent, amazing police officers. And what's amazing, same thing when I did that with fire. I thought that my scores would be so far out of line with theirs, but in both cases, we were all pretty even, you know, it was good service. Thanks, Gil.
Thank you.
This happy bus is for the chief here. I don't know him personally, but I've heard so many good news about you, chief. So I congratulate you. And this other happy bus is, I thought it's Friday.
I have 2 happy bucks for granddaughter number 2 being announced, exciting. And 1 for the fact that I blew a tire on the trailer on Callow, which is right in the wheelhouse of wind distance home, so it was great. You gotta blow a tire on the trailer. A mile and a half from your house is where you want to do that.
So I put in $1 because I don't know what I'm doing today. Another one for the chief, because while you were chief, I didn't get one ticket.
I got another month to go.
Don't make up for it. And our visitor here.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
Actually, we have another visitor. We have a guest
Yes.
that we didn't say welcome to. Does it,
Star from the Rotary Club of Monroe.
okay, thank you for coming. Sorry, we missed you earlier.
So.
Okay, so we're good, but we have a couple more things to talk about as far as club business. Tracy, would you like to talk about your beautiful item?
Yes, okay, so this is kind of how it works. I had this really cool container in my car, and I'm just like, okay, I don't like it, I'm not gonna use it. So I went to
Another great.
yeah. So, you know, there is a vacuum, this is a basket for the auction. You know, car wash, somebody could really pamper their vehicle if you love it. So, and then this one, okay. So the one I found that I was like, Dave, you gotta buy this for me, it was $250. And you went on Amazon, this was $39. So we got this one, and then I'm like, oh, cool, I get to use it. It's really not logical. So Mom and I are gonna go to Ace, and we're gonna find some more stuff to put in it, and this is gonna be an auction item. So that's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
So put together, you know, really cool things that maybe you won't use them, but somebody else is gonna love this, and they're gonna pay a ton of money for it.
You could probably put a bucket inside that, couldn't you?
That's what I'm thinking. We're gonna do a bucket, and then we're gonna look for,
A landscaper?
yeah. Bucket and something else.
Bucket the landscaper.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, and then Miss Eileen, do you have something to?
I do. We're ordering some new Rotary flags. So, these, if you don't have one of these, they're here at the table. And the options are, we have a zip hoodie, a standard hoodie with the pullover one with the kangaroo pocket, a women's V-neck t-shirt, 'cause I know we've been wanting that for a while, men's t-shirt, men's polo, women's polo, and a structured adjustable baseball cap. So the sizes are listed next. If you're an extended size, the additional cost is down here, and then it's $8 per item, and the logo is going to be embroidered. So you have a choice of navy with white writing and then the gold here, or white with royal writing and the gold here. And so you just pick out what you want, give me a total and total number of items, total cost, pay fees, and then give me the form, and then we'll do a bulk order. So,
Do we have a deadline?
I don't know, Madam President, do you have any suggestions?
I do not.
A couple weeks.
Couple weeks, yeah.
What if we said like, the first Friday in August, and then I'll also email this out.
Isn't that,
A couple weeks.
That's like this.
well, that's a couple weeks. Can we make a decision by then?
Yes.
I'll email this out on Club Runner too, so you guys have it, but, if you could get them back to me, so that I can make an actual Excel for people to do that. Venmo or, pay, yeah, you can pay the club, however, you could write the check or Venmo or whatever. Just double check and make sure you do the add-on. So it is $8 per item, that's the cost to get it embroidered. But embroidery looks so much nicer than the screen printing, I think.
Isn't there a sales tax?
No, it's all included.
I noticed that it says XL, does it go above XL?
Yeah, at the bottom, you'll see,
Okay.
and it'll say sizes 2X's, you add $2, 3X, you add $3, 4X, you add $4. And that's per item, because that's the cost of ordering the sponsors items.
John, do you want to come in?
Anybody have any questions?
So the price list is there plus $8.
Correct, and then if your extended sizes, it's the extra charge for that as well.
Awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited to have our sweatshirts and everything out in the community, because we've had these that we only, we wear them at our events and when we're cleaning up garbage on the road, but it'd be awesome to wear them when you're just hanging out at the lake or doing the do. Okay, so our program today, Mr. Don, would you like to
I can do the intro.
introduce? This is too technical. I'm not hitting that little thing. So
You never
I
know
will
what'll
break it.
happen, yeah.
I'm not doing it. It's up to you.
Hopefully, it looks like it'll play an MP4, so we should be okay. This is a lead that I got that I've been following up on. Jevin West is the director of the Center for an Informed Public, which is based at the University of Washington. He's also an associate professor there. And I've been kind of going back and forth with them. I read an article that a friend had sent me, and they were part of the article, but trying to get them to do a little presentation. They're used to doing nationwide Zoom-type presentations, and they were kind of saying, well, maybe if you could get some multiple Rotary clubs together or something, we could kind of like do something like that. But he said, well, just take a look at what we did for the American Library Association and let me know what you think. So I took a look at that. It was online. It was an hour-plus video. So I thought, this is good enough. The videos seem to actually work pretty well around here. So I edited it down to just kind of the interesting stuff, which is interesting to me, and it's about the right amount of time. It emphasizes how media in general will distort information. It's still accurate, but it misleads you. And they had some really interesting examples. And with that, I'm just going to hit play, and it'll run for about 24 minutes. I don't know what time it really is, but 8:10, so that's about right.
Is another medium of misinformation, and it's been the world that I've lived in professionally my whole career. And that's misinformation that can come traveling through these kinds of mediums, through data, graphics, infographics, statistics, technology, fancy random forest algorithms, or whatever the newest term is, neural networks. It's a kind of information that has this veneer of authority. So let me give you an example here. So this is an example of a heat map that was put out by the Georgia State Department of Health. And this was July 2nd of 2020, so this was last year. I should have put the year, but it was sort of in the midst of sort of the rise of this pandemic. Of course, it really hit the United States earlier. It hit the United States earlier, and it was really starting to hit the United States, and there were lots of discussions going on in the policy realm about what to do about it. Should we open up? Should we close? Should we wear masks? Should we not wear masks, et cetera? And it was during this time where there were already issues of politics infiltrating itself into these discussions, and that's, of course, for another discussion. But let's just talk about this data graphic that we're looking at. So here on the left, on July 2nd, the Georgia State Department of Health put out a heat map showing the cases per 100K, these are COVID cases, in these various different counties. And this graphic was there as a way of speaking to the public, but also being used in policy discussions. Then on July 17th, this is approximately 2 weeks later, the same, what looks like the same heat map was provided. And there were arguments being made with this snapshot comparison on both sides, those that wanted to close, those who didn't, et cetera, et cetera. And there was a major problem, though, with this particular data graphic. I mean, if we were in person, I could have someone raise their hand and they could tell me what the problem is with this particular data graphic. But in this case, the problem is something that we try to teach our students to immediately see. And this takes practice, these kinds of things. There's tons and tons. We have over 60 hours of lectures where we talk about these kinds of tips for spotting data, graphics, misinformation, and data more generally. But here, what you're seeing on the left are bins that don't correspond to the bins on the right. So it's an unfair comparison. It may look like there's hardly any differences between the image on the left and the image on the right, but when you change the bins, or let's say you change the bins of a histogram, or you change the axes in a data graphic, you can tell any story you want. I always tell the students, if you let me change the bins, I can tell any story. So here's an example of the kind of things we're talking about. But to their defense, because people were accused them of pushing a political agenda, there may be some truth to that, maybe not. But to their defense, they said, well, we were just using software that automatically scaled these bins, and we put the these up during this discussion, and it was a mistake of software. And that may be true, but that's exactly why we need to be teaching the public and policymakers to be trained when to see these problems when it comes in this form of data. So it's one lesson we talk about when talking about digital civics, which is an important part of spotting and calling BS, that this was something called hands-on razor, which means never ascribe malice. What can adequately be explained by incompetence. Even better, Carl and I have a better way of describing it. Never ascribe incompetence. What could be an understandable mistake. So when we talk about spotting BS and calling BS, that can be difficult to do and difficult to take. So we really want to inject some more digital civics into these exercises. We want people to call BS and spot it to make us all smarter, but we also don't want to do that in a way that just closes down conversation. So let me give you another example of what I mean by this misinformation. Here's an example that you probably want to subscribe to hands-on razor because this was another kind of mistake, but this company that sells data created this data graphic and then talked about how over the past few years, carbon dioxide emissions worldwide have stabilized relative to the previous decade. And if you see this in Twitter or in a Twitter post or Facebook post, you might say, wow, things are leveling off. Carbon dioxide emissions are leveling off. But there's something really wrong with this particular data graphic as well. If you look at the bottom of the graphic, you'll see 30-year increments, and then all of a sudden, it switches to 20-year increments, and then 1-year increments, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. And again, if you allow me to change the parameters of these data graphics, whether it's bins or the axis intervals, you can tell any story you want. So we teach students to quickly take the same data, and there are tools for doing this quickly, and replot. If you replot this exact data, what looks like a leveling off actually is much different when you have even check marks. So the point here is that data can be useful in making arguments, but it can also be misinforming. So it can misinform as much as it can inform. And I've been with my colleagues, we co-founded many years ago what's called the Data Lab, where we teach graduate students and undergraduates and many MLA students work in the lab and take classes in our series. And I found that the students are really great at replicating algorithms and running statistical analyses, but they aren't as good at questioning those numbers and questioning those data graphics in the same way that they would question language and rhetoric. And partly it's because words, numbers are subjective. We know that. They're fuzzy, they're intuitive, they're idiosyncratic. But numbers, they appear objective and scientific and precise and replicable. They have a weight like they've almost come directly from nature. And they carry this authority. And because of that authority, this information can travel through data in many of the same ways. In fact, because of the rise of data and everything we've seen, certainly during the pandemic and throughout anything that we consume online, that authority can be misleading as much as it can be informing again. So it's almost as if numbers carry this divine authority. And Carl and I are here to kind of just say, we need to call BS on that a little bit, because 37% of virtual talks include made-up statistics. And so watch out for those kinds of those virtual talks. So we created this class, and like Michelle said, it's offered at the University of Washington, but also we've been approached by more than 100 universities now using parts of it or wanting the full course. And of course, we give all of this away. We want people to be teaching it. There's this calling BS movement in education a little bit. But our emphasis is specifically on data reasoning. So the book that we wrote was to be written for the public, not necessarily graduate students. Graduate students, hopefully it'll become useful for them too. But it's written for the public to empower people to ask questions when they see data. This could be in the self-help section as much as anyone, because numbers are intimidating. I work, live, and breathe numbers all the time, and that's what I do professionally. And they can be hard. And so we want to remove that difficulty and empower people to ask questions and to call BS on data that, or the information that comes wrapped in data. So you can get lots of examples. We run a Twitter feed where we give things we see pretty regularly. There are lots of topics we cover. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to just sample a couple of them, and then we'll close up, and then we'll have some discussion. So let me just first, if you're going to have a book about BS, people always say, well, give me an example of BS. First, I got to give you a definition real quick. The definition changes, and you can help me with that definition as we sort of debate over each each word in that definition, but we think it involves language, of course, but it also involves data graphics, statistics, and other forms of presentation, importantly, that seem to impress, overwhelm, or persuade, without any real regard for truth. So let me give you an example of that. Here's some writings from Sigmund Freud. So I gave my lecture yesterday, despite a lecture lack of preparation. I spoke quite well without hesitation. Many of us on campuses know that this can happen sometimes, which hopefully this part's not the right thing to do, but which I ascribe to the cocaine I had taken beforehand. I told about my discoveries in brain anatomy, all very difficult things the audience certainly didn't understand, but all that matters is that they get the impression that I understand. So that, to me, is total BS, and a perfect example of the kind of BS that we see. So let me give you an example now of BS that comes in data, or mathematics, or numbers. And that's something, so first of all, we do lots of little exercises on just thinking about numbers. So I'm going to start with one that's called math units. You'll see down here, this is a form of sort of, that carries the shock and awe of algebra, but really means nothing. It's just there to impress. So here's a very common equation that's used in the healthcare industry. In fact, I got a lot of the readings from a local, well-known hospital here in Seattle, which is a great hospital in many ways. So I don't criticize them for other things, but they tend to use these kinds of equations a lot. And if you see this, you'll see Q is quality, appropriate, outcome is S is service, weight. And really all it means is that, you know, if you have appropriate and outcome and service, those are things you want to increase if you want to have a high effect on quality. And then W, waste, is decrease. And for whatever reason, the equation is written like this. But why couldn't it have been written like this, or this, or this, or a million other different things? And it's partly because the mathematics here is used as a way to seem rigorous and to seem precise. But in fact, it's really nothing more than just conveying what the table could have done better. So you don't even have outcome. You don't know what the units are here. The units really could be appropriate divided by waste times whatever. I mean, the point here is that it's not that this is a real severe form of BS, data BS, or mathematical BS, but it's an example of massiness, which we think is a form of BS too, which disregards logic and factual accuracy, trades on the air of rigor conferred by mathematics, which does have real rigor, and it aims to impress and persuade an audience using algebra and shock and awe. So it's just an example. I'm not so worried that you detect that. Now, I am more worried about a different kind of BS that I want you to watch out for, and that's when you're given big numbers, and people throw out numbers during dinner conversations or talks like this, and we want to give you the tools to be able to call out on that. So let me just show you a quick video of one way to try to think about these problems, because I want to give you tips as much as identifying some of those challenges. So I'm going to share my screen here, right here. I'll make sure I share the sound, and here we go. Well, one of the things you try to develop skills like farming. Oh, sorry. This was inspired by a physicist named Fermi, who was really good at doing calculations on the back of a napkin. And his trick was to just spend time thinking about the powers of 10, so just estimating any powers of 10, and in doing so, could come to calculations really quickly.
So let's give you an example. Representative Bo Brooks suggested that the sea level rise might not have anything to do with melting ice caps, might be because the cliffs of Dover were eroding.
The waves crashing against the shorelines, time and time again, you're having the krill crash into the sea. All of that displaces water, which forces it to rise, does it not?
Let's try out Fermi estimation with this problem.
To the nearest power of 10, the White Cliffs of Dover are about 10 kilometers long, about 100 meters high. Suppose this entire kilometer fell into the ocean. That's a billion cubic meters falling into the ocean. So how much would a billion cubic meters raise the ocean?
So there's about 360 trillion square meters of water.
So you dump a billion cubic meters into 360 trillion square meters. That raises up about 0.000003 meters. The human hair is about 100 micrometers. So if the cliffs of Dover and 30 other cliffs like it collapse today, that would raise the ocean away. Thank you, John.
So that is one of the many different kinds of tips that you can use to try to spot it and also refute it. So we talked a lot more in detail, and I'm not going to go through all these, but just to give you a sense of the kinds of tips you can develop and the skills you can develop when you see big numbers or when you see numbers that can be intimidating. So Fermi estimation is one of those kinds of skills that you can pick up, and you can practice. I practice it all the time and try to teach our students to practice it. Let me give you an example of one of the more common things you're going to see out there when you see numbers or any sort of data graphic that's making comparisons. And a lot of times those comparisons are unfair. So here was a data graphic early on in the pandemic that looked at the disease deaths per day worldwide compared to all these other maladies across the United States, or across the world. And you'll see here that COVID doesn't seem to be all that bad. It's only 56 compared to this 3014 number. But this is an unfair comparison because this was early in the pandemic, so that's just the rise of the wave. You need to compare it to the entire wave and compare during, the same kind of time periods, et cetera, et cetera. And so this comparison is not fair, and this is often done a lot when using numbers to make arguments. Carl then updated this a couple, actually already even too old, it's probably much bigger since then. But after you made a more fair comparison for that pandemic, you see that the orange really is a much bigger bar than that, those blue or the teal. And that's just like, let's take a quick pause on data visualizations. In addition to looking for unfair comparisons, we have to be also looking for ways in which we call the principle of proportional ink is being violated. That is, when you devote ink to a screen for a number, it needs to be representative of that number, and that many times that's violated, especially with bar charts. So if you look at this article that was written about trust differences, which is kind of ironic given that there wasn't, this data graphic wasn't engendering trust, but the Quebecois were way down here, the rest of Canada was way up here, right? Look at this huge difference. You have this red bar and you have this blue bar, but look, they've zoomed in. And again, if you allow me to zoom in as far as I run, I can get as big a difference as you want to see. So if you take that same data, replot it, you see a much different story. But it's different with line graphs. With line graphs, because you're not devoting a square area of D, you need to zoom in. Because according to this particular law, this is the only global warming chart you need to see from now on. Look, it's just flat. What do we have to worry about? But look at how far they've zoomed out. And I find it so humorous that they've zoomed out even to -10. Why -10? But 110, up to 110 is the average global Fahrenheit degree. And I've even shown people you can take a diagonal line, you zoom out far enough, you can make it look flat. So what do we do in those situations? Well, of course, we need to zoom in like Phil Love did, and show that 2-degree difference, and then let's have a debate about what's causing and what we can do, and whether it's an issue we should be concerned about. I do think it's an issue we should be concerned about. Now, this happens in industry. Tim Cook, when he had taken over Apple early on in this previous decade, he was talking about the explosive growth of iPhone sales. Well, if you look at any cumulative plot, they're always going to go up. He didn't want you necessarily, probably, I don't know his intentions, but he didn't want you, or, okay, we'll see that's his intention. Here's quarterly sales. They tell a much different story than the cumulative plot. But it's not just isolated to industry when they show these cumulative plots. They're happening all over, including from our own government. There was a cumulative plot of tests when trying to make the case that we were doing great at tests. So watch out for things like cumulative plots. I'm just giving you a sample of things. We've also built some virtual exhibits with the Pacific Science Center here in Seattle, where we explore data charts, and it's all free, by the way. You just can go to this link. We'll make these slides available, so you can go and you can use it. These are virtual exhibits to help the public try to identify some of these common pitfalls in the data graphics. All right, last two things I want to make. One of the most powerful tools that you can develop when identifying problems with data is something called selection bias. And it occurs when people you sample or things you sample differ systematically from the population at large. And you see it everywhere. I literally see this probably every day, either in my professional life or in my personal life in reading information. And it really gets to our central philosophy in this class and in this book, which is focus people's attention on the data input. Don't worry about the fancy algorithms and statistical procedures. And if the input looks okay, focus on the output put in interpretation, and selection bias is really an issue in the data input. Just look at the data, just ask where the data comes from, and you guys are super smart in front of the smartest machine learning, computer scientists, statisticians in the world. Just ask questions about the data. How did it come from? So let me give you an example, which I see as a puzzle from the insurance industry. This is what my kids have identified before. If you listen to the radio, or if you're watching a sporting event, or insurance commercials or ever, you can't escape them. Progressive talks about switching saves you over $500 on average. You'll save $498. Farmers is $502. So out of those three, they all average $500. And then of course Geico, big savings, switch, and you'll save $500. How could it be that they all save you $500? Let's assume for a second that number is real, it's not just made up. If that number is real, then it really all it says is that those that will switch will save $500. Why would you go through the effort of changing addresses and regions and all those other things if you weren't going to save money? So there's a selection bias issue there because they're only looking at those that switch. Now, we've got an email to our course where, and Geico told us our course, hey, well, course, you could save $500. So they even reached out to us. Here's an example of selection bias in the pandemic. There was an issue early on when dentists were concerned about prolonged mask use leading to poor oral hygiene. And this was a report that went viral. The problem is that during a pandemic, people are not usually going to go in for regular cleanings, and these dentists were going to see a higher frequency of dental cavities or other oral hygiene problems that were severe because it was really painful. If it's really painful, people will go into the dentist. So again, the selection bias issue. We have tons and tons of examples. And here's my last thing I want to just mention. So I'm just going to just sample around the book, and that's correlation causation. When I talk to students, they nod their head and they say, yes, correlation doesn't imply causation. Then we do some tests, and they find pretty quickly that it's not so easy, and there are lots of challenges when it comes to correlation causation. And it's not just the public that struggles with it. Journalists struggle with it. Here, looking at the 50 most shared research studies about health outcomes, these researchers found that half of the news articles conflated causation. But even worse than that, wasn't even the journalists. I wouldn't even put all of the problem on the journalists. In fact, I would put even less of the problem on the journalists and more on the researchers themselves. A third of the journal articles themselves misattribute causality, and that's problematic. So let me give you an example of what I mean by another one of these viral articles that was written in Forbes and many other places. It's all been seems to be higher than coronavirus. And the claim here was that there's this link between COVID risk. After their study and this fancy analysis, they claimed based on these androgen pathways that baldness was causing an increased risk to COVID. But they made a big mistake, that they did conflate causation, and they forgot to call the cause. It was so obvious that Forbes and others had to do a retraction. So updated on 1620, this piece has been clarified to note that the study did not verify for age. So here, age leads to a higher probability of baldness and also higher probability of COVID risk. And we talk about common cause and other ways in which we talk about data censoring, we talk about different paradoxes that can occur when looking for correlation causation. There's a whole bunch of things that we can train the public to look out for. And I should note that there are studies that are done really well that only indicate associations and correlations, but that doesn't stop them from being reported differently. So this was a paper showing the association between exercise and cancer risk. And I would imagine that exercise would help, but this study didn't necessarily show that. But that didn't stop Time from saying how it lowers risk. Didn't stop U.S. News Report talking about how exercise causes cancer risk. Again, it may and it probably does, but that's not what this study said, and that's what it was reporting on in LA Times, et cetera, et cetera. So we're making this mistake. No wonder it's hard for the public to understand this. And what happens is if you get a claim in a scientific paper, like moderate consumption of wine consumption is correlated with reduced heart disease, the news report will say something different. Red wine consumption reduces heart disease. Prescriptive claim then becomes drink a glass of red wine with dinner to stave off heart disease. So these are the kinds of things that we can work on better at, identifying root causation in place. And I'll end here by saying that, Carl and I talk about misinformation in and about science. Science is one of the greatest human inventions of all time, and despite some of its issues, it still works remarkably well. However, there are some issues of communication with the publication system, with incentives, et cetera, that we need to clean up in science. And I think the librarian community has an important role to play in that as well. So with that, I'll end with a couple just take-home points, which is we're drowning ideas. Much of it is in quantitative form. The COVID pandemic has put us into a life or death context. In fact, we could have rewritten the entire book from examples from COVID, and really numeric literacy can literally save lives. So the more that we can train ourselves and the public, hopefully the better off we are. And again, I just want to say that I think the librarian community can play a really important role in all of this. So with that, I'll quit, and thank you so much for the attention. Sorry I went so fast, I realized, holy cow, I have way too much, and I thought I could cut it down.
Interesting little tidbit.
That was interesting little tidbit. Okay, so we're out. Don't forget to pick up your rhubarb, pick up a, order form for your swag, and, thank you, Dawn, for making my first meeting as presentation on bullshit.
It all comes down to motivation. Yeah. You know, you gotta understand motivation.
Give you that now, sir.
Anybody join us today?
Okay, so I didn't.
Yeah,
I'll be
we're,
on the phone,
we're a
I'll
couple
be in
people on it.
person.